In this video, we are going to see the second discussion topic, lateral wall of the nose. Lateral wall of the nose, if you see, we will expect three important things. One is what are the bones forming the lateral wall of the nose, and nerve supply, blood supply, as well as the structures present in the lateral wall of the nose. So mostly the air sinuses, paranasal air sinuses, they open to the lateral wall of the nose. Number one, when this specimen is being given to you, you just see the three projections. These three are called concha. So go from below, inferior concha, middle concha, superior concha. So three concha. Beneath that you have the meatus. So inferior meatus, middle meatus, and superior meatus. Above that you will be having something called the supreme meatus. So four are there. Then next thing is, you should see the parts. Here number one is the vestibular part, where you have the hair. That hair is called vibrissae, number one. Second part, this area is called atrium, and the third portion is called infundibulum. Like that it has to be divided into three parts. So look at this. First you should see the nose, anterior part. Here you should see the vestibular part that contains hair. Second part is the atrium, that is the space. Next is infundibulum. Through that only, this is the frontal air sinus. Frontonasal duct comes through this only. So look at this. This area is called infundibulum. Then next thing, if what you see is in the inferior meatus, you have an opening for the nasolacrimal duct. So opening of nasolacrimal duct is here. The valve, the mucus valve present in that is Hasner's valve. Then the next is middle meatus. In the middle meatus you have a bulge that is called bulla ethmoidalis, that is produced by middle ethmoidal air cells, and they open on the surface of the bulla. Then if you see, there is a groove beneath that, that is called as hiatus. The hiatus is prominent because of the uncinate process of the, can you see these projections? Superior concha and middle concha are the extensions from the ethmoid bone. So this uncinate process, they form a boundary for the hiatus semilunaris. Hiatus is a space beneath that. Can you see this hiatus? It is a groove. Okay, now what happens? These three are the extensions from the ethmoid bone, and the inferior concha is a separate bone. This will be asked. Then the hiatus, the anterior portion of the hiatus, you have the frontonasal duct comes and drains here, frontal sinus, and in the middle of the hiatus you have the anterior ethmoidal sinuses drains into that, and in the posterior part you have the maxillary sinus drains. So three portions are there. Next, if I go here, this is a superior meatus. Superior meatus, your posterior ethmoidal air cells, they drain into the superior meatus. On the supreme meatus, it means above, you have the sphenoid air cells, they drain via the sphenoethmoidal recess. So four air cells, so you have to write four air cells are there. The four air cells, the drainage site you have to write. So I will draw here. So the first meatus is the inferior meatus, and this is the middle meatus, and this is the superior meatus, and this is the inferior meatus, the concha. So inferior concha, middle concha, and this is the superior concha, and inferior meatus and middle meatus and superior meatus, this is called supreme meatus. Here you will be having the sphenoidal air cells, and here in the anterior portion, here you will be having the frontal air sinus, right? So what happens? The inferior part, you have the nasolacrimal duct opens here. I said the parts are, number one is the vestibule, number two is the atrium, number three is the infundibulum. These three are the parts. Here you will be having the hair, and here is a space. Here you will be having the something called as agarnaceae, and here it's called limnaceae. That are not too much for you. Just you should know that this vestibule, atrium, and the infundibulum. Through the infundibulum only your frontonasal duct comes, and in the middle meatus only you will be having a thick bulge called bulla ethmoidalis. Here inside you will be having the middle ethmoidal air cells. Inside the bulla, which ethmoidal? Middle ethmoidal. Beneath that you have a groove that is called as hiatus semilunaris. In the hiatus, the anterior end of the hiatus, you will be having which duct? Frontonasal duct empties here, and the middle of the hiatus you have the anterior ethmoidal air cells drains here, and the posterior hiatus you will be having the maxillary air cells drain, maxillary sinus, and then this is called superior meatus. Here you have the posterior ethmoidal air cells, posterior ethmoidal sinus drains into this, and the supreme meatus, your sphenoidal air cells, they or sphenoidal air sinus, they drains through the recess called as sphenoethmoidal recess. So these are the things you have to keep it in mind. So you have the frontal air sinus, and ethmoidal you have the anterior, middle and posterior ethmoidal, and maxillary and sphenoid. Sphenoid where it is opening, sphenoethmoidal recess. Maxillary posterior end of hiatus, and ethmoidal anterior ethmoidal in the middle of hiatus, and maxillary posterior end of middle ethmoidal in the present inside the bulla and opens on the surface of the bulla, and posterior ethmoidal it goes to the superior meatus, and supreme only it is nearby, that's why it's going here. And then we are going to see nerve supply. Nerve supply and blood supply is almost same as nasal septum. Anterior ethmoidal artery, posterior ethmoidal artery, sphenopalatine artery, greater palatine artery, and superior labial artery. And here the nerve supply is the same as anterior ethmoidal nerve. Instead of sphenopalatine nerve, here you have to put nasopalatine or posterior nasal branches from the pterygopalatine ganglion and greater palatine branches. And then here instead of superior labial we should write and alveoli. No, this is called anterior superior alveolar nerve instead of superior labial artery. So this is about the nerve supply. So very important, these two are extension from the ethmoid bone, shelf-like projection from the ethmoid bone. This is a separate bone, that is very important. So in these openings everything you know. That's all about the lateral wall of the nose.